All right. Next chapters in Wonder. These are not my favorite chapters. They're good chapters, but they're not my favorite. So bear with me as I read these. Goodbye. Auggie, said Via, come quick. Mom needs to talk to you. I am not apologizing. This isn't about you, she yelled. Not everything in the world is about you, Auggie. Now hurry up. Daisy's sick. Mom's taking her to the emergency vet. Come say goodbye. I pushed the pillows off my face and looked up at her. That's when I saw she was crying. What do you mean goodbye? Come on, she said, holding out her hand. I took her hand and followed her down the hall to the kitchen. Daisy was lying down sideways on the floor with her legs straight out in front of her. She was panting a lot, like she'd been running in the park. Mom was kneeling beside her, stroking the top of her head. What happened? I asked. She just started whimpering all of a sudden, said Via, kneeling down next to Mom. I looked down at Mom, who was crying too. I'm taking her to the animal hospital downtown, she said. The taxi's coming to pick me up. The vet'll make her better, right? I said. Mom looked at me. I hope so, honey, she said quietly, but I honestly don't know. Of course he will, he said. Daisy's been sick a lot lately, Auggie, and she's old. But they can fix her, I said, looking at Via to agree with me, but Via wouldn't look up at me. Mom's lips were trembling. I think it might be time to say goodbye to Daisy, Auggie. I'm sorry. No, I said. We don't want her to suffer, Auggie, she said. The phone rang. Via picked it up, said, okay, thanks, and then hung up. The taxi's outside, she said, wiping the tears with the backs of her hand. Okay, Auggie, open the front door for me, sweetie, said Mom, picking Daisy up very gently, like she was a huge droopy baby. Please, no, Mom, I cried, putting myself in front of the door. Honey, please, she said. She's very heavy. What about Dad? I cried. He's meeting me at the hospital, Mom said. He doesn't want Daisy to suffer, Auggie. Via moved me away from the door and held it open for Mom. My cell phone's on if you need anything, Mom said to Via. Can you cover her with the blanket? Via nodded, but she was crying hysterically now. Say goodbye to Daisy, kids, said Mom, tears streaming down her face. I love you, Daisy, Via said, kissing Daisy on the nose. I love you so much. Bye, little girl, I whispered into Daisy's ear. I love you. Mom carried Daisy down the stoop. The taxi driver had opened the back door and we watched her get in. Just before she closed the door, Mom looked up at us standing by the entrance to the building, and she gave us a little wave. I don't think I've ever seen her look sadder. I love you, Mom, said Via. I love you, Mom, I said. I'm sorry, Mom. Mom blew a kiss to us and closed the door. We watched the car leave, and Via closed the door. She looked at me a second, and then she hugged me very, very tight while we both cried a million tears. Daisy's toys. Justin came over about a half an hour later. He gave me a big hug and said, sorry, Auggie. We all sat down in the living room, not saying anything. For some reason, Via and I had taken all of Daisy's toys from around the house and had put them on a little pile on the coffee table. Now we just stared at the pile. She really is the greatest dog in the world, said Via. I know, said Justin, rubbing Via's back. She just started whimpering, like all of a sudden, I said. Via nodded. Like 2 seconds after you left the table, she said. Mom was going to go after you, but Daisy started, whimpering. Like, how? I said. Just whimpering. I don't know, said Via. Like howling? I asked. Auggie, like whimpering, she answered impatiently. She just started moaning like something was really hurting her, and she was panting like crazy. Then she kind of plopped down, and Mom went over and tried to pick her up, and whatever. She was obviously hurting. She bit Mom. What? I said. When Mom tried to touch her stomach, Daisy bit her hand, Via explained. Daisy never bites anybody, I answered. She wasn't herself, said Justin. She was obviously in pain. Dad was right, said Via. We shouldn't have let her get this bad. What do you mean? I said. He knew she was sick? Auggie, Mom's taken her to the vet 3 times in the last 2 months. She's been throwing up left and right. Haven't you noticed? But I didn't know she was sick. Via didn't say anything, but she put her arm around my shoulders and pulled me closer to her. I started to cry. I'm sorry, Auggie, she said softly. I'm really sorry about everything, okay? You forgive me? You know how much I love you, right? I nodded. Somehow that fight didn't matter much. Was Mom bleeding? I asked. It was just a nip, said Via. Right there. She pointed to the bottom of her thumb to show me exactly where Daisy had bitten Mom. Did it hurt? Mom's okay, Auggie. She's fine. Mom and Dad came home 2 hours later. We knew the second they opened the door and Daisy wasn't with them that Daisy was gone. We all sat down in the living room around the pile of Daisy's toys. Dad told us what happened at the animal hospital, how the vet took Daisy for some x-rays, and blood tests, then came back, told them she had a huge mass in her stomach. She was having trouble breathing. Mom and Dad didn't want her to suffer, so Dad picked her up in his arms, like he always liked to do, with her legs straight up in the air, and he and Mom kissed her goodbye over and over again and whispered to her while the vet put the needle into her leg. And then after about a minute, she passed in Dad's arms. It was so peaceful, Dad said. She wasn't in any pain at all, like she was just going to sleep. A couple of times while he talked, Dad's voice got trembly, and he had to clear his throat. I've never seen Dad cry before, but I saw him cry tonight. I had gone into Mom and Dad's bedroom looking for Mom to put me to bed, but saw Dad sitting on the edge of the bed, taking off his socks. His back was to the door, so he didn't know I was there. At first, I thought he was laughing because his shoulders were shaking, but then he put his palms on his eyes, and I realized he was crying. It was the quietest crying I've ever heard, like a whisper. I was going to go over, but then I thought maybe he was whisper crying because he didn't want me or anyone else to hear him. So I walked out and went to Via's room, and I saw Mom lying next to Via on the bed, and Mom was whispering to Via, who was crying. So I went to the bed and put on my pajamas without anyone telling me to and put the nightlight on and turned the light off and crawled into the little mountain of stuffed animals I had left on my bed earlier. It felt like that all had happened 1,000,000 years ago. I took my hearing aids off and put them on the night table and pulled the covers up to my ears and imagined Daisy snuggling with me, her big wet tongue licking my face all over like it was her favorite face in the world. And that's how I fell asleep. Heaven. I woke up later on and it was still dark. I got out of bed and walked into Mom and Dad's bedroom. "Mom?" I whispered. It was completely dark, so I couldn't see her open her eyes. "Mom? You okay, honey?" she said groggily. "Can I sleep with you?" Mom scooted over toward Dad's side of the bed, and I snuggled up next to her. She kissed my hair. "Is your hand okay?" I said. "Via told me Daisy bit you." "It was only a nip," she whispered in my ear. "Mom," I started crying. "I'm sorry about what I said." "Shh, there's nothing to be sorry about," she said, so quietly I could barely hear her. She was rubbing the side of her face against my face. "Is Via ashamed of me?" I said. "No, honey, no. You know she's not. She's just adjusting to a new school. It's not easy." "I know," I said. "I know you know. I'm sorry I called you a liar. Go to sleep, sweet boy. I love you so much." "I love you so much too, Mom." "Good night, honey," she said very, very softly. "Mom, is Daisy with Grands now?" "I think so." "Are they in heaven?" "Yes." "Do people look the same when they go to heaven?" "I don't know. I don't think so." "Then how do people recognize each other?" "I don't know, sweetie." She sounded tired. "They just feel it. You don't need your eyes to love, right? You just feel it inside you. That's how it is in heaven. It's just love, and no one forgets who they love." She kissed me again. "Now go to sleep, honey. It's late, and I'm so tired." But I couldn't go to sleep. Even after I knew she had fallen asleep, I could hear Dad sleeping too, and I imagined I could hear Via sleeping down the hallway in her room. And I wondered if Daisy was sleeping in heaven right now. And if she was sleeping, was she dreaming about me? And I wondered how it would feel to be in heaven someday and not have my face matter anymore, just like it never, ever mattered to Daisy.